And like the title probably says, please watch this before you buy it. Hey guys, what is going on? This is your old pal CHH. Today should be Valentine's Day when I'm posting this, and I'm recording this actually. So listen, happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Do your thing with your partner, and if you're a single guy, treat yourself. Look, treat yourself, man. It's all good. Or if you're a single lady, treat yourself. Listen, today we're talking about another John Carpenter film. It's getting harder to say that nowadays because we've pretty much covered all of them. Listen, this was one that was left on the docket. John Carpenter's Ghosts of Mars. Now, this came out, I think, in like the early 2000s, 2001, in the year of our Lord, 2001. And if you can believe that, that was the last big studio movie from Johnny Boy. He did a movie with Amber Heard back around like 2011 or so, which, watch, that movie will eventually get a Scream Factory release. I mean, it's got a Blu-ray and everything, but maybe they'll do some sort of release for it, you know, just to cap it off. But gotta give it to Scream Factory. They have gotten a majority of John Carpenter's catalog, and that's impressive. I was happy when this came out because it was like, yeah, well, let's kind of get everything together. It's kind of a wonder why Scream Factory never decided to do like a big John Carpenter box set and do something kind of special, limited and unique for the fans. Maybe make 500 box sets of everything he's done on Blu-ray or 4K. This has a Blu-ray, so clearly they have a license for a Blu-ray in here, and do some kind of fun limited thing like the John Carpenter box set. I don't know why they didn't do that. They probably should. And just do something a little special for the fans. Do something a little premium. Make a nice big box set of it. But, you know, just an idea, Scream Factory. You know, you guys used to care about packaging once upon a time. All right, guys, so let's keep it real and get right into it. Ghosts of Mars. So, 2001 horror movie. What is Ghosts of Mars? It's kind of a myriad of things. It's definitely a sci-fi movie. You know, we're definitely dealing with space and travel. It's definitely a futuristic type movie. It's definitely a horror movie too. I mean, the elements in here are definitely horror themed, especially with these ghosts that we see in the movie. This tribe of monstrous ghost characters. They're definitely more sinister and evil rather than sci-fi. There's a little bit of action here. Actually, there's some decent amounts of action here. There's some full-blown action fight sequences, and there's also some humor in here. So that's the thing about Ghosts of Mars. It's really a mixed genre film, but I think it feels inherently a little bit more horror-y because of John Carpenter's involvement and just the way he makes movies. That's the way we perceive it anyway. I think from the John Carpenter fan standpoint, we perceive it to be a little bit more of a horror movie rather than anything else. In a simple plot synopsis, because I feel like most of you probably have seen this movie, so I'll keep it straightforward. And if you haven't seen it, same point, I'll keep it straightforward. This professional group goes in to get a prisoner and bring him back to a different planet. But when they get there, pretty much Mars, the town's wiped out. They don't know what the hell's going on. It's supposed to be a busy night in this whole area, but it's gone. It's gone. Then they start to find bodies, and then they see these prisoners that are safe because they were locked up. And one of those prisoners happened to be one Ice Cube. So Ice Cube had been acting for a little bit at this point. And I gotta be honest, this movie's not great, but it would have been a little bit better had Ice been a little bit more seasoned as an actor at this point. Like, I think Ice Cube is a good actor now. I thought he's definitely funny, and his timing's gotten really good, like in 21 Jump Street, where he's playing the boss of the two guys. He's funny in that. His timing is really good in that. In Ghosts of Mars, when you watch it, you can't help but just see Ice Cube is looking, so getting ready to say his lines, and he's saying his lines. You can tell he's acting. Which, if you can, I know that sounds weird, but like if you can tell somebody's acting and performing, it's not really a great performance. Which, listen, I'm not saying anybody else in this movie was, you know, amazing, but you got people like Pam Grier in here, legends like Pam Grier, and she's a good actress. So it's like there were good performances in Ghosts of Mars. But Ice Cube, I understand having him in here. I understand during that time, especially having musicians, rappers, artists be a part of movies like this. I get it. My thing is, I just wish Cube would have been a little bit more seasoned by this point. His acting skills weren't up to par. So that brings it down a little bit. Then you've also got guys like Jason Statham in here, which I'm going to be straight up. Never was a Jason Statham guy. I think making him the second in command basically in the Expendables films was a mistake, but the ladies seem to disagree with me. They like Jason. I will say he looks a hell of a lot better without hair than he does in here with hair, because his hair was already really thin in here, but he was holding on to it at this point. I don't dislike him, but I don't get him. I'm not a big fan. The Crank movies are fine, but I don't know. So like that kind of goes against it for me as well. But here's the thing about Ghosts of Mars. It's surely an entertaining movie, but the problem I feel with Ghosts of Mars is it's too much genre blending. I really think John should have really picked more of a lane and gone down to maybe two things. Not everything can be aliens, and Ghosts of Mars is no aliens. Obviously, what I mean by that is aliens is able to mix so many great things together: action, horror, sci-fi, even a little bit of comedy. Ghosts of Mars does the same thing, but I just think it goes against Johnny's style. I think John should have really focused more on the suspense horror elements of Ghosts of Mars, and even focused more with the action portion. I think those two would have been really good. You could have your little comedic quips here and there, but it's just a lot going on with Ghosts of Mars. So there's definitely entertainment value with the movie. You're going to watch a lot worse movies in your life besides Ghosts of Mars, but you're not going to watch a whole lot worse John Carpenter movies, which, not to say that John has really any bad movies in my opinion. I like most, if not all, of his catalog, including his Kurt Russell Elvis movie, including Memoirs of an Invisible Man. I love that movie. I'm not saying it's a masterpiece, but I think the effects stuff done in that one's really great, and I think Chevy does a great job in that movie. My point is, Ghosts of Mars isn't a bad movie, but there's just too much going on style-wise for me that goes against what Johnny is so good at, simplicity. But I give him credit. They filmed this out somewhere in New Mexico, and the budget for this movie doesn't feel huge, but it also doesn't feel small, which makes me think that this was probably a modestly budgeted movie, but Johnny did a really good job at using the wide-angle lenses to make everything seem larger than life and big, and he made the film feel pretty grand in scope, moderately grand, I should say, moderately grand in scope. I don't dislike Ghosts of Mars. There's entertainment value to be had for sure, but overall my biggest problems with these is the cast. There's not really a whole lot of standouts. Like I said, Pam Grier's a legend, so it's nice seeing Pam in here, but even then, I mean, I can't spoil too much about how long she's in the movie, but there's a lot of people out there that enjoy Ghosts of Mars, and for that, I say awesome. So before we get into whether I think you should pick this up or not, let's talk about this release and get into all the details. And like the title probably says, please watch this before you buy it. So when it comes to the way Ghosts of Mars look, guess what I have to compare it with? An old DVD. So of course, this wipes the floor, but I'm pretty confident saying that, yeah, Ghosts of Mars look pretty damn good on 4K. Pretty consistent with a lot of the stuff that's come out from them as of late, and especially pretty consistent with a lot of the stuff from John's catalog. I think that They Live 4K looked really crisp and good. I thought Prince of Darkness looked great. The Fog looked great. Ghosts of Mars also looks great. I mean, this was before, I don't think Johnny ever really shot anything digital, maybe The Ward, but I don't remember. So obviously this looks great, right from the negative, if memory serves. Yeah, the original film negative presented in Dolby 4K, original negative in Dolby Vision. Extremely filmic, cinematic. It's a great viewing experience. I have a 58-inch back here. Looked great. I mean, a great experience. I'm going to say the audio was good, but for the people that have the big setups, there wasn't no I think it's 7.1, the Dolby Atmos. There was the 5.2, and then I think there was a 2.0 you could have. But for me, that's fine in here. That's just a sound bar. But for the people that have the big audio setups, you'll be happy, I believe, but you're not going to have that huge scope that you probably get from the Dolby Atmos stuff. So keep that in mind as well. So let's get into this. So I'm going to give the picture quality, I'll give that an 8.99 out of 10. Really solid. The audio, I'll give it about the same, 8.5, 9 out of 10. But here's the kicker. Here's what we really want to get into. Special features, it's not great, okay? I'm just going to be honest. Now, I did no research on the special features. Listen, I'm going to finish off my John Carpenter collection on 4K from Scream Factory and Blu-ray, and a lot of you guys are. But here's what I want to say before you just go out and get this now. Look, and I got this because I knew I was going to review it. This is kind of my thing. I've been doing this now for God knows how long, at least 12 years on YouTube. The special features... There's a new special feature on here. It's an interview with film music historian Daniel Schweiger. Now listen, Daniel, if you see this, no disrespect towards you. You had a full moon t-shirt on in your video, so cheers to that. Big full moon guy myself. It's just like, guys, we went from having John being interviewed for the They Live Blu-ray, all the classic Blu-ray stuff that he was doing. When Scream Factory started out, they had Johnny, and he was doing interviews for his movies. Now, it's like we got a guy coming in to talk about John's music. And it's just, I wouldn't say a fall from grace, but man, it's just not the same. It's not the same. It's kind of a bummer. Like I said, no disrespect to Daniel. He's great. I mean, he's got a lot to say. He's very informative. But it's just like, could we have not really just pay John? Go interview him. Pay him. You want people to get real excited about this? Say, hey guys, guess what? Johnny's in studio. We're talking to him about his new 4K release of Ghosts of Mars and his memories of the film. Pay the guy. Just do it. John's very simple. He wants to get paid. I hope you guys paid Daniel too. I mean, other than that, guys, it's all legacy features, if you will. Basically, there's a vintage featurette of the making of the movie. But the one thing I'll say that's actually enjoyable, vintage featurette or not, was the one about the music. Because they showed John in the studio working with Scott Ian of Anthrax and the other guys of Anthrax. I think some Alien Ant Farm guys. Steve Vai's in studio doing some of the guitar work that you hear in the music. You can tell John had a fucking blast making the music for Ghost of Mars, which is definitely a highlight. There's some slamming industrial hard rock in here that plays during the train sequence towards the end. So that was actually cool because you get to see musical legends, in my opinion. Huge Anthrax. That's my favorite thrash metal band. The vintage featurette stuff was so cool, and seeing John command Steve Vai in the studio is something anybody should be like, okay, I want to check that out. The release itself, I'm gonna give it a 7.5 out of 10. Special feature wise, I gotta say it's kind of sad. For one reason or other, I'm not blaming Scream Factory. Maybe John refused. Maybe they did offer him. I don't know that, so I'm not going to dismiss Scream Factory. But the fact is, one feature about a film historian talking about John's music leaves a lot to be desired. I'll just say that. And having the vintage featurette stuff is fine, I guess. But here's what I'll say, guys. Yes, it does look good. I think a lot of you guys that get this will be fairly happy with this. But here's the reality. A lot of you guys are going to want to get this just to finish off your collection, and you may get it and stick it on the shelf. No judgment. I'm not going to judge you guys for that, but my point is, you may as well want to wait for this to get a little bit cheaper. Wait for a sale, or, you know, if you want to get this down the road at a better price, you know, I know some of y'all will want the slip. I would say check your Orbits, check your Diabolics. They let you know if you're going to get it with the slip. Amazon doesn't tell you that, and I know that's an important factor. Or wait till you get a gift card or whatever soon and pick it up. This is a $24 release. This is not a $34.99 or $29.99 release. That's what I would say is a fair price for this release. As it stands, $24 at the max. That's what I think you should pay for it as a consumer. Be smart out there as consumers. I'm willing to take the bullet with this. Like I said, this is what I do on this channel. So it's not a bad release, but leaves a lot to be desired. But if you're just interested in picture and audio, picture's great, audio's good, and you know, there's a new feature on here. As far as the release goes, obviously I just got it from Amazon. I did not do a pre-order with this. So there's your slip. I don't know if there's reversible art. No, there's no reversible art. You got your 2 discs. You got your 4K Ultra HD, which is right here, and then the Blu-ray disc, which basically looks just like the cover of this. And I put that in. That's in the player right now, obviously, because I was watching the special features. So it's cool to finally have John's catalog finish, but just be smart out there as consumers. Take your time, decide what you want to do, check the prices. That's what I say, guys. But let me know if you're a fan of this movie. I'm going to be interested to see who out there is in fact a Ghosts of Mars fan. It's a fine movie, I guess, for what it is. There are things I would have done differently about it, but the designs of those monsters and stuff is pretty good. There you have it, guys. Your old pal CHH. This is my review for Ghosts of Mars. If you have any questions, drop it below. I'll do what I can to answer it as soon as I can. God bless you guys. I'll see y'all next time.
Huge giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind the scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.